Good morning. I've got to the point in my life where if I don't use notes in my talk, I might just wander off somewhere.
Start your presentation.
Great. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to be with you this morning. And I need to start with a disclaimer. Certainly, all the opinions expressed here are my own. They're neither opinions of my employer or of the ASEE. When Jeff asked me to give this presentation, naively I said, sure, why not? And then I realized I didn't know very much about engineering technology education. I've never worked at an institution that had an engineering technology program. But I thought this was a good opportunity to learn and perhaps to share some ideas with you. Certainly as engineering educators, I was sure that we shared a number of challenges. And we do with recruitment, retention, the pipeline, student diversity, faculty diversity. In our world, and in fact in the world of engineering higher education, things are changing rapidly. So I've tried to learn a little bit more about baccalaureate programs in engineering technology. First, I went to the ASEE profiles of engineering and engineering technology colleges to look at some of the numbers and the demographics. How do engineering programs and engineering technology programs compare? So let's start with the pipeline. There are about 3 million high school graduates per year in the United States. About 2 million of those enter college, and somewhat over 100,000 will enroll in a first-year engineering program. In 2012, 88,000 received BS in engineering degrees, and 6,000 received BS in engineering technology degrees. So total, between engineering and engineering technology, there were about 95,000 graduates. I would tell you that I was somewhat surprised at the size of the engineering technology graduate pool. I had thought that it would be somewhat larger. Just for comparison, in the United States in the same year, we graduated 350,000 BS in business, 170,000 in social science and history, 32,000 in parks and recreation, and 90,000 in visual and performing arts. So our share of the total college graduates in the United States is fairly, maybe it's the right order of magnitude, I'm not sure. If you look then at student demographics, engineering and engineering technology programs are very similar in student makeup. If you, by and large, there are, for the engineering students, about 80% men, 20% women. For engineering technology, 90% men, 10% women. And if you look, none of us, engineering or engineering technology, are doing very well in underrepresented groups, particularly women, particularly African Americans, particularly Hispanic Americans. And then if we look at tenured and tenure-track faculty demographics, we find we're very similar, and not surprisingly, we're very similar. Of the 25,000 or so engineering faculty, about 86% are men, 14% women, and of the 1,000 or so engineering technology faculty, we see a very similar distribution. Of the approximately 26,000 tenure-track faculty members involved teaching engineering to students in this country, 86% men, 14% women. Overall, in the engineering universe, and I assume we're all part of the engineering universe, the number of women teaching engineering is an increasing number. Perhaps not fast enough, but it is increasing. The numbers of Hispanic American faculty members is also increasing. But our progress at increasing the numbers of African American engineering faculty members is miserable. It's miserable at my institution. My guess it's miserable at your institution. And this just, of course, I believe echoes and perhaps reinforces our poor performance at attracting African American students to study engineering. And so I was curious then about the employment of engineering technology graduates. So I asked the director of the Student Career Center on our campus about the national demand for engineering technology graduates. And I was a little bit surprised when she came back and told me that the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics does not include a category for engineering technology or engineering technologist, but they do include a category for technicians. And she was unable to find any information about engineering technology at NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, an organization which serves to connect campus recruiting and career service professionals. So she found no information about employment for engineering technology graduates. And I was a little bit surprised because I do know that engineering technology students find good jobs in business and industry. Continuing to try to educate myself a little bit about engineering technology, I turned to the papers that you folks have written about engineering technology, or a lot of people have written about engineering technology, its history, its strategy for going forward, and there are quite a few of these papers. Most of these papers deal with what ET's place is in engineering. There's a lot of papers about respect for engineering technology, and there's a lot of papers about recognition of engineering technology. And as I continued to explore, I asked a few of you three questions. I asked, does your faculty think of your BS engineering technology graduates as engineers? And everyone came back with the answer yes. Just as an exercise, within this room, do you think of your engineering technology graduates as engineers? If it is so, please tell me so. Well, certainly in this meeting, when I looked at the website, you talk about this meeting and you say the degree is engineering technology and the career is engineering. Then I asked, do your BS engineering technology graduates think of themselves as engineers? And again, the answer was a resounding yes. And finally, I asked, do employers hire your BS engineering technology graduates into engineering jobs? And again, the answer was yes. And in fact, I found Ron's paper in the Journal of Engineering Technology in the spring of 2012, where the title is Engineering Technologists or Engineers. This was a results of a recent survey by the Engineering Technology Council, and it found that a high percentage of BS Engineering Technology graduates are recognized as engineers by their employers. In the real world, it is skill and ability that counts, not necessarily the major that gets printed on a diploma. So I have to ask, if it looks like a duck, and it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, might it just be a duck? Are you educating engineers and then insisting on calling them engineering technologists when everyone else calls them engineers? If so, why? Is this a battle within academia and not an issue for the real world? Are we indulging ourselves in academic nitpicking? Or as all of our friends Sarah Palin might say, how's that bifurcation thingy working out for you? Or more importantly, how is it working out for your students? I am not an ABET guru. If Michael's in the room, he would certainly agree to that. I'm not an expert on curriculum design. And certainly I'm not an expert on engineering technology programs. But I thought that EC 2000 gave us the opportunity to develop engineering programs that were not cookie-cutter copies of every other similar program around the country. Programs that were based on learning outcomes, not necessarily a formula for what the program should look like. One of my ABET guru friends took a quick look at the EAC and the ETAC student outcomes and found that it's indeed possible to do a pretty good mapping one onto the other. So I ask you, are they really different? Don't know the answer to that. But as an ET outsider, based on these, I hope, humble and possibly naive observations, let me ask you what you might perceive as a totally radical or stupid question. Is it time to rebrand engineering technology? Would your students, the profession, and the country be better served by truly calling them engineers? My guess is that most of your four-year programs could be accredited as general engineering. And perhaps it's time to officially identify your students as engineers. Their diplomas could say Bachelor of Science in General Engineering, and you could note on their transcript, Bachelor of Science General Engineering with a concentration in electrical engineering technology, or mechanical engineering technology, or manufacturing engineering technology, or whatever your specialty in engineering is. Are there barriers to this? You better believe there are barriers to this. There are campus politics, state politics, ABET politics, ASEE politics. There are politics all over the place. But is it worthwhile for the engineering technology leadership to consider fighting through these barriers? I pose that to you as a question. Today, you have a very full and a very ambitious agenda. I look forward to becoming better informed about engineering technology education and your aspirations as engineering technology educators. So far, I've convinced myself that you're educating a group of students that fill an important role in our society. They make important contributions to our economy, and we need more of them going forward. For all of us in engineering higher education, as Bob Dylan said, the times they are a-changing. In order for our country to compete globally, to enjoy economic stability, to be secure, to innovate, and to maintain a high standard of living for us all, we need the graduates coming from programs that are applied engineering or engineering technology centric, and the graduates from programs simply called engineering. We need all to work together to serve our students and to strengthen the engineering education enterprise. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for what you do for your students. Thank you for what you do for our country.